brave girl, how you do the things that you do.
After I posted that video on The Brave about my husband's pornography addiction, I had probably 200 to 300 women into my personal DM saying of different faiths like that maybe don't frown upon pornography. And they're like, it's normal for like my husband to look at pornography like our friends do and all those type of things. But like, I don't feel comfortable with it. Like, what are your suggestions? And it's so hard because I'm not a therapist, right? And so I'm just like, listen, at the end of the day, like you guys set your own boundaries, but something that stood out was that you don't feel comfortable with it. And that's enough to tell your husband.
Yes.
Because like, what is it allowed? And I'm like, that's everyone's personal moral compass. But you just told me you do not feel comfortable with it.
Have that conversation.
Absolutely, you need to talk to your husband about that.
And I think that's why I love when you say about your husband, the addiction. Like, you didn't feel comfortable with it, but you like, he's telling me, like, he's not,
at the end of the day, I realized, like, this is his body. If he wants to consume these things that I think are going to cause cancer and impairment and all these things, like, that's him, but it will not ever be around my kids, and you will not lie to me. And that's kind of what I came to conclusion. What am I okay with? Because I keep trying to control and put these ultimatums, and it's just escalating into all these other things. And once, we got that under control, and I was like, I know he's doing this. It's clear. It's not a secret. Then we still had all these other addictions to tackle too. So I had to like, kind of
choose your battle.
Do one at a time. But he was able to quit that. But it's interesting because some people don't view pornography as morally wrong on their compass. And so I just told these women, like, if you feel uncomfortable with it, even morally, culturally, that's totally normal to do in your world. You need to speak up.
And it's interesting because I grew up in a religion that is like way against pornography, and we don't practice anymore. And it's interesting because people are like, oh, so you're okay with porn now? No, actually. And what we did was the same thing. We had to get curious. What are my values? And I value connection. I value that intimacy, and I know from experience that won't breed it for us. So it's my former husband, divorced, not practicing any religion, still not interested in going back to where he was.
So I love that, getting curious.
It's more about on your values than your belief.
And it's right because it's something like I think majority of people watch porn and it's normal. Like, it's like a normal thing for the other half of the world. So sometimes you have husbands that are like, I've seen husbands that are like, no, like, there's nothing wrong with it. Like, this is what men do, And then the wife is like, no, like, so it's like that battle of like, it's normal, but the wife is in pain, like, this is not normal. This is not okay.
Well, that's what some of the wives were saying is like, our situation is different in the sense that he doesn't hide it. He's open with it. It's not a secret or a lie, but I still feel uncomfortable. And I'm like, then you absolutely should say something and set boundaries.
That's your body's saying, hey, there's a boundary that's broken here. That's your values. You got to dig into that.
And you have to be in tune with it too. And you have to, get curious. Okay, so step 1, get educated. Step 2, find support and be validated. And then what's step 3?
Step 3 is to, what did I say?
People, the person. Was it the person that you choose? People you tell your story to, right?
Yeah, you trust your.
Oh,
okay.
I missed step 3.
Support and validation. And then
Next
now
one.
I got it.
Okay, so back in, Gainer.
Okay, so step 3 would be self-care and accountability. So I practice what we call dailies, and this is like, everyone should be doing this. It would feel so good if we could all do this, but I was compelled. I was never consistent at anything in my life. I always wanted to have a spiritual, devotional every morning, and I sucked at it. And I wanted to work out, and I sucked at it. And so putting myself into this world of recovery where consistency is such a big deal in order for you to gain traction, that we came up with our own dailies. So a spiritual devotional. I don't practice religion, but I have a spiritual devotional every day. I am connected to my higher power. I do intentionally move my body every single day. And that can be a walk, it can be stretching, it can be a workout, it doesn't matter. I journal when needed, so I use that as a tool to flush out the broken record in my head. I check in with my feelings using a feelings wheel. Where am I at? Am I feeling resentment? Am I angry? And, why am I yelling at my kids? Whatever it is. I practice self-care. So 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes, half a day, whatever that looks like, I take care of myself so that I can show up for my kids, show up for my former partner. I mean, I'm still a parent with him, and I'm an owner of a business. I have to show up there too. So there's a lot of things that I do, but finding that consistency in taking care of myself, and then I have accountability for it. So that's kind of where my groups come in, is we teach the skill set that you don't learn in therapy of recovery, of just saying, hey, I'm here for me. I'm taking care of me so that I can heal. And I need some of that accountability. I need you to call me out when, you know, I think this is what's going on and he's this, this, and this, and we show up complaining, and then we can, you know, take a look back and go, okay, what can I do?
Yeah.
Is this something that you did with your husband, or something you do by yourself, something you do with your girls? How do you do it?
Kind of a mix.
Okay.
So we started out doing it together. We were separated and hated each other because it was right after he told me of his second affair, and we just started therapy. So we would work out silently, doing, you know, kickboxing and getting out that energy. And then it morphed into our own individual time, you know, because we had different schedules, and my kids figure out their own ways, and they have their own self-care, which I love. I had self-care, I think, as a kid. I just didn't realize it. I didn't name it. So one of my youngest, she loves to do makeup, but she really will go put it on at 6 o'clock at night, do it for an hour, and then take it off. She doesn't even go anywhere. She just loves what it makes her feel like.
I love that.
That's awesome.
I have a question for you, mainly because I'm trying to get clarity, like in my own marriage, about this. So obviously when you're betrayed, there's a loss of trust. You no longer trust your partner, and you no longer trust yourself. And I don't know in my marriage if there's ever been the proper steps to rebuild the trust. And so we're having kind of this conflict where my husband's like, you know, you don't respect me. And I'm like, why would I respect you? You freaking lie to me all the time, and all these different things. And so like, I'm trying to learn, like, how can I trust him again? But also there has to be action on his part to try to build trust. And I keep saying to him, like, what are you doing to build trust? Like, we get to a place, and then, you know, I rely on you, and you don't follow through. Like, then I'm back to square one of that, you know? So like, how have you dealt, what can we give our listeners on being able to trust again, and like actionable steps to build trust again?
Yeah, and that's the most important part. And I think a lot of us, we don't know where to start, or we skip it because the don'ting is hard.
Yeah.
And it's so respectful that people can stop doing what they're painfully addicted to.
Right.
But that's just step one.
That's just step one, exactly. And I think my husband was like, well, I'm not doing it anymore. I'm like, but I'm freaking broken.
Yes.
Like, there's 12 years of like lies and lies and lies, you know?
Yeah.
So how do we build that up?
Well, and it's, for us, it was like, okay, we have to burn that old relationship because it was a mess, and it was full of all this pain and hurt. And so to rebuild something new, it can be really fun, but it does require two partners.
Right.
And so not everyone has that opportunity, like I said. You can do it on your own, and sometimes a partner can show up if they're in a place where they're willing to say, hey, you're learning some new tools, I can see it, I like it, teach me.
Right.
And that can work. But seeing your partner showing up in dailies, that's one of the biggest things. And so in the beginning, doing it together was really nice. It was like, hey, we're building trust together. Look, I'm taking care of myself. And then to see him choosing to do that day after day for 8 years,
Yeah.
I mean, that's awesome. We have a series on the podcast called The 5 Indicators of Real Recovery. And it walks through what it looks like. And it's actually really basic. Like, you're going to be like, yeah, that's my marriage, right? But it's, you know, helping with household needs. So, you know, if your partner works outside of the home and he has betrayed you and then comes home and he's checked out, that's not taking care of household needs. Those are basics, right? And so it's, you know what? I'm going to start helping with putting the kids to bed, doing dishes, taking out the garbage. Like, these are my responsibilities because I see that you're doing a lot. And so it's little things like that that build trust.
Yeah.
When I was on a group call one night, my daughter, who was asleep, woke up sick. She's throwing up. My husband at the time was also on a group call. So we're both busy working. Kids are asleep. She's sick. I'm texting him going, I'm on my group call. I'm trying to listen. It's Zoom, you know. I need help. In that moment, he's like, shuts down his group. Hey guys, I got to go help. I'm out of here. He let go of his group. I said, I need to go. And we took care of our daughter. That was a huge trust building moment, and it had nothing to do with recovery.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's little things like that of just showing up. And a lot of times addiction is all the time, it's selfish. And it's that fulfilling the needs inside of ourselves, right? And so when we look outside of ourselves and say, hey, I really love and respect you, and I want you to feel safe with me. I want you to feel trust.
Yeah. And do you want to see this consistently? Because I would think like I've had a few friends that gone through a lot of those like traumatic things, and I feel like there's a stage of like, I'm gonna do whatever you want me to do because right now I don't want the attention on me. So tell me what you want and I'll do it. You know what I mean? All the kids, da da da. And I feel like you would want to see a consistency of like the willingness to do it. It's not just doing it, but like I'm willing to do it because I haven't been here. I've been missing in somebody else's relationship or something else. Like to be able to see that person like consistently showing up for you to be like, yes, like I have a friend that's going through something so familiar, and it's always the opposite. Like we always say, like, you're gonna leave, work it out, gonna leave. But I think finally she's doing the work on her own, and you can see her strength, like where she's like, I can do it. Like I am in therapy, I can see the process, and then he doesn't care. He's like, and like he doesn't even know she's doing all this work to like kind of prep to like leave
Because he's so checked out.
because he's so checked out. So it's like it's crazy.
Well, and I will say this to bring some relief down here. We did both start out to save our marriage. Like, we're going to make this work. I'm going to show up and I'm going to stop being mean because I want to be a better partner. And he's going to start showing up. So yeah, most of us start out that way. And it's not what keeps us going. That's the willpower. That's the white knuckling it, right?
Yeah.
But it's when it shifts and you really start to see, I'm doing this for me.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining our brave conversation.
If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell notification so you don't miss our next episode.
Ready for more? Click on the next video for more brave conversations.
Have some brave topics you'd like us to discuss? Leave your suggestions below. We'd love to hear from you.
See you next week.
Hey, brave girl.